Well, 2 very long days of the NHL draft here at the Sphere in Las Vegas are finally wrapping up, and it's been a very interesting 2 days for the Washington Capitals. Yesterday was all about getting a first-round pick in. Today, Tarek, not just about the future, but the present for this Washington Capitals team.
What a wild day. 4 trades, 6 players drafted. It started off with Beck Malenstein getting shipped to Buffalo. I'm not sure anyone saw that coming, but we talked to GM Brian McClellan, and they feel like they wanted to jump up into that early part of the second round and get a defenseman, and that's exactly what they did with the number 43 overall pick, getting Cole Hudson, who is an offensive defenseman from the development program, younger brother of Lane. So he's got a little shake and bake to his game.
Yeah, and they added another defenseman, Leon Mugli, later on in that third round. So 2 young rear guards to kind of develop. But one of the other interesting aspects and one of the most unique aspects of being here in Vegas and with the Capitals in mind, the Capitals make a trade for Logan Thompson, who was doing what when he found out the news?
So he was actually in bed when he got the phone call from Vegas telling me he had been traded to Washington, but he was scheduled to do an autograph signing here at the Sphere. And you know what? Good on him. He followed through. Instead of going, nope, you know what, I got traded, I'm going to stay in bed or I'm going to not go, he came down, and I got to see a little bit of it. It was a really surreal moment. There are Golden Knights fans basically saying goodbye to a guy that they admired, and then there were Capitals fans saying, hey, welcome back to D.C. And I say welcome back because if you remember, 5 years ago, Logan Thompson was in the Capitals system. He was a free agent who came to development camp and was eventually assigned to South Carolina,
where a lot of Capital goaltending prospects have come, from Ole to Grubauer to Holtby, go up and down the line. Varlamov, no matter who has been drafted by the Capitals, they've started to develop. And he'll be paired up with Charlie Lindgren, and it's going to give this team 2 right-hand catching goaltenders, which is weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's rare to be a right-handed catching goalie, and I always felt like it was a bit of an advantage for the Capitals to have one of each because teams didn't know who to prepare for. Having 2, it's weird, but I'm curious to see if that's going to help or hurt them.
Well, he's an interesting guy, on and off the ice, and it gives Brian McClellan a lot of flexibility. He's got 2 guys basically under $2 million to man maybe the most important position in the sport. And one of the other interesting side notes is Alexei Protas's younger brother gets drafted, and in exactly the same way he got drafted a few years ago.
I talked to Alexei, and he was like, it was deja vu all over again. Watching the team he just re-upped with for a long time a few months ago, trade up to get his younger brother, Ilya, who also looks and sounds exactly like him. I mean, they've already started calling them Big Pro and Little Pro. I'm curious to see how Ilya's going to feel about that in a couple of years. But it was such a cool moment. And, speaking of Alexei Protas, guess who his roommate was 5 years ago in development camp? None other than Logan Thompson. So you know where I ran into Alexei today? I was standing outside of the autograph session waiting for Logan to come talk to us, and someone grabs me by the shoulder, and it's Alexei, and I was like... And before I could say anything, he walks right over and starts hugging Logan. He's like, welcome back, man. What a small world.
Yeah, an amazing day. 2 days here in Vegas. One last thing now. It's done here in Vegas. The Capitals, interestingly enough, their brain trust, Brian McClellan and everybody else, are going to stay in Vegas to get ready for July 1st, which is free agency. So they've addressed goaltending. They added Andrew Mangiapane to add to the speed and skill up front. That leaves what else he wants to do back in the blue line. Is it trade or free agency? How do you see this shaking out?
Well, he was a little cagey when we asked how he intends to address the blue line. They do have some cap space. My gut tells me that they're going to go out on July 1 and make a splash. He teased me when I said splash. He was like, what constitutes a splash? We'll see. But you know what? He still has some trade chips. So it's going to be an interesting next few days after an interesting past few days for the Capitals.
I should tell you, Tarek said, well, you're like a $7 million defenseman. He's got very high-end taste. We'll find out about it tonight at dinner here in Vegas before he heads back, and we all head back and get you ready for free agency here on the Monumental Sports Network.